Welcome to the Real Estate Edition of That Business Show 2.0 with your host, Jamie Maloney, where real estate becomes show business each Thursdays now at 9 a.m. as we've moved the program throughout the week from 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. And so if you've been a fan of the program, we hope that's an opportune time for you to still watch the show on thatbusinessnetwork.com, still made available on demand on iTunes and on YouTube. So today I want to talk about the for sale by owner side of the real estate business. The nemesis of the real estate agent is the owner who thinks we are not, in essence, not worth our value, and so they elect to sell the property by themselves on the market. So first off, we throw the term around in the business FSBO. So if I say FSBO, that's what I'm talking about, for sale by owner. I oftentimes will use that in general language with friends and family and realize they don't know what I'm talking about. But amongst real estate agents, they all know what we're talking about. So in short, for sale by owner, anybody who wants to sell their home is free and able to do so. The licensing of real estate controls the sale of other people's property, but you are welcome to sell your own real estate and ask for whatever you'd like. But why is it that there are so many for sale by owners out there on the marketplace? And is the hiring of a real estate agent such a costly investment? So first off, why would you want to hire? Or first off, why would you not want to hire a real estate agent? It's because of the commission. They charge too much money. Same reason why business owners don't want to pick up the phone and contact an attorney. The hourly rate is too high. It's because it's a very valuable resource, and that if it's not handled properly, it can be cost you substantially. But when you're somebody who looks and I am the same way. Somebody who looks on the front end of things, and you're trying to control or minimize costs, you don't see the long-term savings down the road. So real estate agents and attorneys, the costs, I understand both of them are extensive, but the service and the value that is provided can really offset some poor situations, or some situations I should say, that develop because of your doing it on your own. And so typically, a seller will, throw a sign up in their front yard. And I'll be honest with you, that's usually what sells a property to begin with, is the for sale sign in the front yard. And so why then, you're saying, would I want to hire a real estate agent? You just told me the for sale sign, controls, usually who sells. So the first problem, though, is you don't have enough people, being exposed to the property when you sell your home by yourself. You want to get it out there to the broader marketplace and get more people driving by the home, so you get more sign calls to begin with. And it's not always a sign call that sells the property, although a lot of them do sell because of the sign in the front yard. So the hiring of the realtor gets you broad market exposure across the entire internet, which is where 90% of the people begin their home search these days is through the internet. And so you want to get the broadest amount of exposure possible for your property. And so the hiring of the real estate agent is going to do that. The sign in the front yard is not going to get you a whole lot of exposure. And if you're in an inopportune location inside a neighborhood, you may not get good traffic to your house, especially inside subdivisions where the same neighbors drive by the property each and every day. For sale by owner may be more doable in the event that you're located at the intersection of a major road, or there's a lot of different traffic that comes by. Then you're getting adequate eyes onto the property. But when you're inside a neighborhood, or especially if you're back on a cul-de-sac, then you're really asking for trouble, because nobody's going to see the property. You can put the home up on Zillow and some of the other third-party real estate sites as well, and get yourself exposure through that. But the multiple listing service gets it out to all of the websites. That's where all the real estate agents are looking, and many buyers go through real estate agents. And so if your home is not in the multiple listing service, then it's going to be overlooked. Another thing that's a reason why you want to hire agents is they're experts in their field. Think about if you're a for sale by owner or considering selling your home by owner, think of it about what you do. And if I were to step in and say, and I needed your service, and I was going to step into your shoes and say, well, you know what, I could figure this out. Whether you're an IT professional or an accountant, yeah, I could probably figure out what you do to some degree, but I'll probably screw up, or I'll leave something out, or I'll forget a detail. Sometimes it is what you think. We get burned on the things we don't even know we don't know. And so you want to leave the people that are experts in their field to handle their profession. So again, I ask you to ask yourself, if I were to step into your shoes and say, "Oh, your service, I could do that," unless you're, doing a labor type of position and a non-professional type of position, it's very difficult for people to step in because you have, very specialized knowledge. You understand your craft, you understand your clients, you understand the intricacies of your profession, and so don't real estate agents. Plus, real estate agents have their own language. They know how to deal with one another, and plus they have a community amongst themselves. And so by dealing with a real estate agent to sell your home, it's like you become part of the community, and then they network amongst themselves, and your home becomes part of the clique of homes that are for sale on the multiple listing service. Another reason why you want to hire a real estate agent is they're going to sell your home in less time. Unless you overprice your home, they're going to give you proper guidance on the value of their home. Every home seller does it, including myself. You think your home is worth then more than what it is. That's why homes sit on the market, and every seller wants to blame the real estate agent when their home hasn't sold. Well, it's sitting there 60 days, 90 days. We haven't gotten an acceptable offer. The realtor's not doing enough marketing. Or is not bringing me an acceptable offer, and so they always want to blame it on the real estate agent. But the time that the property sits on the market, it's just going to drive the value down. So it's important to price a property properly, and I've talked about this on the program a number of times, that if you do not price your home to sell within an initial 7 to 14 days, you are going to lose money. If the home sits on a table for more than 14 days without an offer, then you have overpriced your home. The exceptions of this are, homes that are higher value, that are in unique markets. Obviously, homes that are in Beverly Hills or New York City. That's a different market. I'm talking about the market that I, operate in so many, which the typical subdivision home where all the homes are very similar to one another. They're all selling for similar price per square foot, and you think because you've got hardwood floors that you put in your home last year that you could get an extra $40,000 over a comparable sale next door. That's erroneous thinking. And so it's important to have somebody who is objective and somebody who is independent and has no emotional tie to your home to price your home. And so the sellers will usually say, well, the realtor they want to price the home low to get it to sell. Well, at any given point there is a strike point price of the property. That means that's what that home is worth, meaning that buyers that are ready, willing, and able to buy a home will purchase a property at that moment at that price. If you're going to test the market and try to outpace the market and price it over and beyond what the current fair market value is, then you're waiting for either one, the market to show up, the prices to rise up to your level, or two, to sit there and not get enough offer, or get an offer at your acceptable level, and then cave and bring the price down. So the best time to sell the property is in that 7 to 14 days, because you have sense of urgency. And I've talked about this on other programs as well. That is a seller's number one tool when they first list a property on the market. Sense of urgency, the idea that, wow, this property's just been on the market for 2 days. I noticed when I pulled in here, 2 other cars were sitting out there looking to you see this home. I bet you they're interested. And plus, you yourself have probably been looking for properties and know what's out there and what's priced, and you're going to know if your home is sitting pretty out there in the price point amongst other homes, or if you're way above the curve and standing out like a sore thumb. So overpricing a property does not bring more money for a property in a marketplace that is very conforming. In a non-conforming market, yes, you can price a property over a fair market value and market, internationally. And I'm talking again about higher end homes and test the market. It's a completely different things. I'm a big fan of $1 million listing. I see them testing the market all the time, but that's a completely separate type of pricing strategy. Homes that are conforming to one another, you want to look at what's sold in the neighborhood, take your price per square foot, and then multiply that times the square footage of your home. That's going to give you a good baseline of what your home is worth. And then look at the absorption rate of the homes in the area. How quickly are homes moving on and off the on the marketplace? If they're sitting there for long amounts of time, but they're still getting a certain level of value, that means the value is there, but the absorption is low. And so you see this a lot of times with vacant land or rural properties where there's not a huge influx of buyers. So in that situation, it does make sense to allow for extended marketing times. But in urban settings where the market is continually moving, where there's people continually moving in and out of a property and coming into your neighborhood, you got to price the home home effectively from the beginning. So it's important to price the home to sell within 7 to 14 days, and you should hopefully get a couple of offers at that time, especially right now when we don't have a lot of inventory out there, or in our market we're 1 to 2 months of inventory when there should be 6. And so if you do not price your home to sell, you're going to sit on the market, and your home is going to begin to get lower and lower and lower offers the longer that it is on the property. And I've sold 1,600 properties. I've seen this time and time and time and time again. It never fails. If the home gets offers within 7 to 14 days, they are at or over list price, or at least within a few percentage points of it. Once they sit for 30, 60, 90 days, the offers keep coming lower and lower, and fewer and far between. So sit down with a real estate agent, get their professional opinion of value. Do not rely on Zillow, because Zillow is high, and believe me, it breaks my heart too, because I got a couple properties that I really want to believe that Zillow value, but at the same time, I'm like, you know what, it's just not there. So again, rely on the professional of a real estate agent to help you in pricing your home. Another reason to use a real estate agent when you're going to sell your home. So I'm going to take a break here. When I come back, we'll talk more about why to use a real estate agent in the sale of your home, and some more information about for sale by owners and why they are making mistakes and not using a real estate agent to sell their property. And again, I'd like to sell your property. If you're in the Tampa Bay region, reach out to me. I've got real estate functions at thatbusinessnetwork.com. Also, my full real estate profile at jamiemaloney.com. Both of those sites are function, and will give you information on my real estate business. And if you'd like to get a home valuation, happy to offer that up to you. Thathomevaluation.com, and anywhere in the country, we can partner you up with a real estate professional in our vast relocation and referral network. Again, thathomevaluation.com. So you're listening to the real estate edition of That Business Show 2.0 with your host, Jamie Maloney, where real estate becomes show business.
Hi, welcome to Yeager's. We just want to take a minute and show you what we're all about. At Yeager's, our primary business is hardwood flooring, although we are remodelers for kitchen, bath, and general construction. We operate a fleet of shop-at-home vans that have all the flooring-type products, hardwood flooring, laminate flooring, tiles, stone, what have you. So we're able to come out first with products in our vehicles and take a look at the setting, how the colors will work, and then to be able to come up with some options and ideas for you. If that's not good enough, we have a large distribution center that we inventory product and have a nice display area.
Welcome back to the real estate edition of That Business Show 2.0 with your host, Jamie Maloney, where real estate becomes show business. Thursday mornings now at 9 a.m. on thatbusinessnetwork.com, and made available on demand on iTunes and on YouTube. And on iTunes, it has its separate feed in addition to, or in separation from the That Business Show 2.0. So if you like only the real estate topics, you can catch those as a separate podcast. Just search for That Business Show 2.0, the real estate edition. Also, we got that up on thatbusinessnetwork.com underneath the real estate tab as a separate show item underneath that field, or underneath that menu item also. So today, or in this segment, we're talking about for sale by owners, and why as a for sale by owner you should seriously consider hiring a real estate professional in the sale of your home. And in that last segment there, I was really stressing the importance of pricing the property to sell, and then you need to have that conversation with somebody that understands the market, and somebody somebody who understands the profession, because overpricing the home will lead to a loss in value. Another area of concern is just your own privacy and safety. Let the real estate agents handle the showings. Let them handle the dealings of pre-qualification of potential buyers. The typical home seller doesn't know how to pre-qualify a buyer to see the property. They can rely on loan pre-approval letters if they wanted to, but your time is valuable, and you don't want to be setting aside your time to show your property, especially if your property is a hot property. It's going to get a lot of people in and out of it, and so by cycling people in and out will take up your time. So leave that up to the real estate agents. Make sure they install a super key lockbox on the property. That way, everybody coming in and out of the home is logged through the digital signatures on the e-keys as they are called. And that way, if there's any thing missing from the home, you can go back and see the log and know who's been in and out of the home. But again, privacy and safety is a big reason why you want to hire a real estate agent to sell your property. Another topic or another area I like to always elaborate on is this idea that the seller is paying the commission. I got to pay a 6% commission to get my home sold. That's way too much money. If you look at the stats of homes that have sold for sale by owner versus other homes that have sold, with a real estate agent, the for sale by owner homes generally are selling for less money than the homes that have sold through a real estate agent. And that's due in large part to the exposure and the professionalism and the negotiation skills that a realtor can offer. But the argument can then be made that the buyer is paying the commission, and that's really a school of theory that is talked about amongst real estate analysts, that commission is not paid by the seller. It is paid by the buyer through increased sales price of the property, by getting more exposure, by getting a higher quality sales professional other than yourself to sell the property. So buyers are paying the commissions on the properties, and so do not think that you're paying the commission. But it's very difficult, I understand, to understand that, because you're the one whose proceeds are limited by the resulting debit on the closing transaction. So, but when you use a real estate agent, your home's going to sell for more money, and so that increased price could then be attributed to the use of a real estate agent, and then you can make the argument that the buyer paid that commission. And so keep that in mind when you're when you're going to sell your home. Some other areas about for sale by owners. You'll see out there on for sale by owners, maybe they don't want to hire a listing agent, but they're willing to work with a buyer's agent. And so what you could do in that situation, if you're looking to sell your home for sale by owners, is you could put on the sign, brokers protected. And so what that means is they're willing to offer some sort of a compensation if you bring a buyer to them. Realtors are out there showing homes, and the realtor always dreads when the buyer says, I want to see that home there with the for sale by owner sign in the front yard, because now the real estate agent doesn't have an offer of compensation. It's a well-known fact that buyers are not paying realtors any money other than maybe a transaction fee in the sale of a property, and if the property doesn't close, you don't get paid anything. That's a whole other talking point there in of itself. About the troubles of how the real estate market has evolved and has led to higher costs in general, and I've talked about that on the program before. But if it says brokers protected, which many signs that sellers will put out there, that means that an agent can stop by and get some type of commission. But some type could be $100. It could be a 3% commission. There is no standard commission. As a matter of fact, it's kind of taboo topic to talk about in real estate circles. It's forbidden discussion at real estate board meetings, and at the National Association of Realtors doesn't put out any type of formal numbers or anything like that when it talks about compensation. It's one of those taboo areas. As a matter of fact, some people may listen to me, and even when I throw out numbers like, oh, he shouldn't be doing that. He shouldn't be saying 6% commission. That's not right. And the fact is, commissions are negotiable. There is no standard commission that is on a home. Different markets have different commission structures, and ultimately you as a seller can offer whatever it is that you like. In our Tampa Bay market, 6% is common, but you see, 5% listings as well. A lot of realtors are, easily cave in that situation. So as a seller, you can almost always get a realtor to go down to 5%. But the best realtors will get 6, even 7% commissions. And you say, well, how can they get 7% commissions? And that comes down to just being a good salesman and having a good quality track record behind your business. Because as a home seller, if I know you're the best in the business and I know that you're going to get more value for my home than the next guy, then I'm willing to pay you more money for that. You deserve to be compensated for your time. And so a higher commission is a reflection sometimes that the agent is a quality agent. Other times it's an agent just dreaming that they want a higher commission. Regardless though, you as a seller can set your own commissions. Pay attention though to what is offered on the other side to the buyer's agent, because commissions are split between your listing agent, the person that you hire, and then whoever brings them the buyer. That is known as the cooperating broker commission. And 9 times out of 10, it's usually another agent with their own buyer. Sometimes your listing agent will sell the home themselves in a transaction broker type of role. Other states have, what they call dual agency, where the listing agent can represent both parties. In Florida, they're by default transaction brokers, meaning they don't owe the duty of loyalty to either side. They are merely there to effect a transaction, a point that's not very well understood by consumers, but they think that, that's my listing agent. They got to do what I say to do. They got to remain loyal to me. When in fact, if you look up transaction broker notice in the state of Florida, you can see the duties that a real estate agent is entitled does owe their and I don't even want to use the word principal, because principal has to do with a dual agent, that they owe their client. And a lot of people will use the word principal. When you use that, you're implying dual agency. Dual agency, again, is illegal in Florida. Other states, it's legal, but in Florida, it is illegal. So one part of a transaction broker notice, which used to be a required form that you had to present to your client at the beginning of each transaction up until 2008. Here are my duties that I owe to you as a real estate agent. Please sign this before I can begin working with you. That used to scare a lot of people too, because they're naturally scared of real estate agents, and you would present that to some people like, I'm not signing that, look at it, and they don't even look at something. I was like, just read what you're signing. All right, you're not signing any of the deed to your house. This is just a disclosure statement that says, as a real estate agent, I owe to you these duties. And I think there's 7 or I think there's 8 of them. But the key difference between the single agent notice or dual agency, if you represent both sides, is the duty of loyalty. Transaction brokers are not required to be loyal to their client. And when I say loyal, meaning, for instance, if you as a listing agent was told by the buyer's agent that, my buyer's willing to come up on this home, you by law are not supposed to tell your seller that. That is confident information. That is really, and the buyer's agent has also violated their transaction broker relationship by saying that their buyer would be willing to pay more than the property. You are simply supposed to effect the transaction. If you are a single agent for your seller or your buyer, then you remain truly loyal to your principal, as it's called at that point. And then by law, you're required, if you're the listing agent and you got information that the buyer is willing to pay more for the property, then by law, you're required to say, this buyer, I know, will pay more for this property because their agent told me that. But the reason why you have issues with dual agency in Florida is because all the relationships in an office are with the broker. And so if an agent in an office has a listing on a home, that listing is technically with the broker of record for that office. And if another agent in that same office brings a buyer to that home, that buyer is technically with the broker of the office. And so that creates a single agent, or a dual agent relationship, not lawful in the state of Florida, because and I don't even know why it's lawful anywhere. How can you be loyal to two opposing parties? You're loyal to 100% loyal to the needs of the buyer, and you're 100% loyal to the needs of the seller. They're in opposition to one another. So how can you be loyal to both? In Florida, though, realtors are transaction brokers. They are there to effect a transaction. They're there to, be honest, to disclose anything they know about the property, to account for all funds, all these stuff that you would expect, a realtor to do. Without the duty of loyalty, though, they're not supposed to tell you anything about the motivations or the needs or wants or haves and have-nots of the other party. So look it up, transaction broker, gets into the area of law. This is the stuff that they pump into you pretty good when you're getting a real estate license that you don't really know to talk about with a client. They don't teach you how to be a realtor, they teach you how to be an attorney, and so really a lot of this segment is more been about law than it has been real estate, and so that's a big component of getting a real estate license. And so we'll talk a little bit more though about this topic when we come back from the break. Keep in mind, if I could help you in any way with real estate, I am based in Tampa Bay, Florida, and have sold over 1,500 homes in 10 years in the business. And so if I could help you buying or selling a home in Tampa Bay, JamieMaloney.com is my real estate profile. We also have contact forms up, of course, at thatbusinessnetwork.com. And for a free home valuation, you can go right to that page directly at thathomevaluation.com. Again, thathomevaluation.com. So you're listening to That Business Show 2.0, the Real Estate Edition with your host, Jamie Maloney, where real estate becomes show business.
Hi, welcome to Yeagers. We just want to take a minute and show you what we're all about. At Yeagers, our primary business is hardwood flooring, although we are remodelers for kitchen, bath, and general construction. We operate a fleet of shop-at-home vans that have all the flooring type products, hardwood flooring, laminate flooring, tiles, stone, what have you. So we're able to come out first with products in our vehicles and take a look at the setting, how the colors will work, and then to be able to come up with some options and ideas for you. If that's not good enough, we have a large distribution center that we inventory product and have a nice display area.
Welcome back to That Business Show 2.0, the Real Estate Edition with your host, Jamie Maloney, where real estate becomes a show business. On this segment, I want to talk about the importance of, hiring reputable general contractors when they work on their property. It's very common to, buy property and want to do work on it, or even if you currently own a property and you want to do work on it. Florida has a problem with unscrupulous contractors, with contractors that are unlicensed, with contractors performing work outside of the capacity of their license. And so if you're dealing in this marketplace, take the time to do some due diligence and don't just hire somebody because you see a sign on the road or an ad on a television set, and especially a flyer nailed to a tree, which I see people do as well. Contracting is an area that you can lose a lot of money in, and a lot of people out there targeting people for this work. And so, you got to know how to do the research to find good quality contractors. So one place to start and question to ask, make sure that they are licensed, bonded, and insured. And you can check in Florida at the website myfloridalicense.com. That's the Division of Business and Professional Regulations. It's also the same place that you would find a real estate agent's license or a cosmetologist license. That's the regulatory agency for licensing in the state of Florida, the DBPR, Division of Business and Professional Regulations. And you can search for licenses and see complaints, file a complaint against somebody with a license at myfloridalicense.com. And contracting is a very broad business. You have general contractors that are, that do a variety of handyman work. You have specific contractors like roofing contractors, where that's all they do. Then you have contractors that subcontract out the work, and then you have contractors that have people on staff. And so it's not an area that's can be easily navigated. And so a couple places to find quality contractors. One, utilize Angie's List. It's a very reputable resource for finding a good quality contractors. It's a very well respected, and some of the best contractors that I know in the Tampa Bay area draw a lot of business from Angie's List, and they also do their best to maintain the best reviews on that site. So Angie's List is a very good place to find reputable contractors. The absolute worst place to find contractors would probably be on Craigslist, which I don't recommend anybody goes for any type of service. Craigslist is a haven for criminals and scams. So stay away from Craigslist altogether. Even when I began in real estate, I was all about marketing my properties everywhere I could to get a lead or get a call, and I would put them up on Craigslist. And my broker early on was like, get your homes off of Craigslist. They are a scam. You don't want to be associated with that website. It's a very well trafficked site, very well known, but for a professional, it's maybe not in the best interest from a reputation standpoint to put your ads up on Craigslist. So finding a good contractor, Angie's List is a great place to begin searching for that. For referral, I always talk about how a referral from one person to another is probably the strongest type of lead that you could get, or strongest type of referral that you could get, because it puts on the person referring that individual sort of a sense of trust that, hey, I want to take care of you. This is my person here. And so when they refer that individual, they know that they've got a third party that they don't want to disappoint when they perform the service for you. So rely on your friends, rely on your families, and find contractors through them that have done the work. Make sure you understand the difference between contractors that subcontract versus contractors that employ their staff. One of the difficult things about being a contractor and employing people is workers' compensation. Workers' compensation insurance, pays for, the employee in the event that they get injured on the job. And in the construction industry, it's very easy to get injured on the job. If you're sitting in an office as a secretary, you're unlikely to probably get injured unless you fall down the steps or, trip and fall. But as a contractor, those premiums can be very high because, when somebody gets hurt on the job, it's usually substantial and it's usually severe. And so those premiums then, carry over into the prices that contractors have to charge to be able to support, the employees on their staff. And so be sure that you understand that you may be paying a higher price for somebody that has staff, but you're getting more of a quality contractor, in my opinion, by and large, because they're able to control the duties and the actions of their staff. They're going to require that they're there at a certain time, that they stay a certain time, that if you don't like their work, they can be fired for not performing up to your standards. And so contractors that employ their staff, probably by and large, not all, I'm not saying subcontracting is bad, but by and large, contractors that employ their workers are probably going to do a quality job, but are probably going to come at a premium to contractors who subcontract out the work. And when I say subcontract out the work, I myself could go out there and get a general contractor's license within a year's time, do the study, and then subcontract out the work to people who actually know what they're doing. to get a contractor license in Florida, you got to take the licensing, do the education, and you also got to have worked in the industry for a year or two, and you got to get somebody to vouch for you. But a lot of people, I wouldn't say a lot, but some people will get their friend or family or somebody to vouch for them that, yeah, the person has worked in this industry, they know what they're doing, and which when they really haven't. And so I could get a general contractor's license and come to your house and say, yeah, I can do this kitchen remodel. But then what I would do is I go out there and subcontract it out to an actual kitchen remodeling company. And so the kitchen remodeling company then is going to charge me, and then I'm in turn going to charge you a premium or a markup on that. And so that's how subcontracting works. So, talk to your general contractor and see how much, how experienced they actually are, how hands-on they are. Are they really just, a license for hire or a license, I wouldn't say a license for hire, but a license, a business to pass through to another contractor so they can make a markup where you could have contacted, a kitchen remodeling company directly. You only need a general contractor really when you're doing, a multi-component, rehab on a property where you have different people involved. You have the electrician, you have the plumber, you have the flooring, the kitchen, the roofer. General contractor, manages that whole, scene and keeps everybody in order. But if you're only doing a kitchen remodel, why would you call a general contractor? Unless the general contractor employs their staff, they're going to subcontract that out to a kitchen remodeler, and you're going to be paying a premium to deal with the general contractor. So unless you just really like this person and want to see them make some extra money, be sure that you go directly to the source, or only use a general contractor when you're doing a remodel on a property that involves multiple levels of contracting involved. So again, subcontracting, another thing that happens in this business is say a roofer has their contractor's license, and they know Joe, who's a handyman who knows how to put on roofs, but for whatever reason never got a license. They don't have the money to do it, doesn't have the time, maybe they just don't know how to pass tests, but they're out there working in the business, but they want to go out there and they want to start their own roofing business. And so they go to the homeowners and they say, hey, I do this new roof for you, but they got to get a permit. And that's something you also want to watch for when you're having work done on a property. Make sure your contractors are pulling permits. Just about everything requires some type of a permit, whether you're replacing the roof or you're replacing the water heater inside of your house or changing the windows or the AC. Permits are required. And so permits are done to, one, let the county know or city know of the change, and two, initiate a process whereby an inspector can come out and make sure that the work was done according to code. So they open the permit, they do the work, and the inspector comes out, checks the work has been done, and then they close the permit. It's very common, contractors will open permits and not do the work for whatever reason. Maybe they weren't ultimately hired or they were fired and they leave the permits open. This is all stuff also to look for in a closing of a property. This is where title insurance and comes into play. They'll check for these things. They'll look for open permits, expired permits, but those are red flags in the closing of a property. Why was the permit opened to begin with? If there's an open permit for the roof and the roof wasn't completed, well, there's probably some type of problem with the roof. It's aged, it's leaking, something with the roof. The AC, there's a permit open, but it was never closed. Why did they open a permit on the AC and not close it? And so expired permits, open permits, that's a little side topic right there. Be sure to make sure those are cleared or closed out prior to closing. But getting back to what I was talking about, general contractors or contractors in general need to be pulling permits to be in compliance with the regulations of their industry. And to do the pull permit, they need a contractor's license. And so the handyman who knows how to install roofs and may even do a great job at it, I'm not saying that the person doesn't do a good job, they don't have the license to legally do it. So either A, they work underneath somebody else for, a fee and lose money in the sense, or in the capacity that they, get a wage instead of, directly from the consumer, or, they go out there and get the license, which for whatever reason they can't. And so we call that, or I call that, they're selling their license, they're loaning out their license. Legally, the contractor whose license who's been used to put on that roof is still, the one legally responsible for the permit and for the quality of that roof. I had a situation several years ago where and I again sell bank properties primarily. The seller was a client of mine who was a bank, and the buyer came along and put the property under contract, and they wanted to put a new roof on the home. Okay, the seller, well, actually, they didn't want to. They had to get the financing on the home. The lender was going to require a new roof prior to closing. And the seller said, well, we're not going to put on the roof, but if you want to put on the roof, we'll authorize you to do that. And so the contractor that was used was picked by them. That was a mistake on our half. We should have required that the contractor be controlled on our end. But we allowed them, since they're buying the home, to pick the contractor that they wanted to use. They put the roof on the home, got it all done, and the seller, our seller had agreed to pay the contractor, paid the contractor, all was well and good. And then the buyer got denied for the loan after the roof was put on. And so now we had to put the home back on the market. It had a new roof, okay. The seller had paid for the roof, but the buyer didn't close on the property. And so buyer number 2 comes along, gets the property under contract, and goes to inspect the roof and finds the roof has been done poorly. There's all kinds of problems with it. So we then have to go after the contractor who the buyer hired. Come to find out that that contractor had hired Joe the handyman to put the roof on, and he was claiming no responsibility for the quality of the roof and created a whole mess in the process. Had to get the city involved. Luckily, it didn't blow up into a full-scale legal issue, as the buyer was able to work with the situation, took a price reduction, agreed to fix it on his own, but it created a couple weeks of mess because the buyer had selected a contractor who then loaned out their license to a handyman who did a poor quality job, and then when it was inspected by the new buyer that came along, was found that the roof was not installed properly. Looked good, but when you looked at the finer workings of how it came together, there was a lot of problems with it on a code level. So let's make sure that you pick a good quality contractor, some stuff to be paying attention for when you're out there on the market to get some repairs done on your property. So we got another segment when we come back on the Real Estate Edition of That Business Show 2.0 with your host Jamie Maloney, where real estate becomes show business.
Hi, welcome to Yeagers. We just want to take a minute and show you what we're all about. At Yeagers, our primary business is hardwood flooring, although we are remodelers for kitchen, bath, and general construction. We operate a fleet of shop-at-home vans that have all the flooring type products: hardwood flooring, laminate flooring, tiles, stone, what have you. So we're able to come out first with products in our vehicles and take a look at the setting, how the colors will work, and then to be able to come up with some options and ideas for you. If that's not good enough, we have a large distribution center that we inventory product and have a nice display area.
We're back to the Real Estate Edition of That Business Show 2.0, where real estate becomes a show business. On this segment, I want to talk about buying homes at the foreclosure auction. This is where you can get some good deals, but you got to be cautious in doing so. And this is really an area for the expert real estate investor, not for the person who's looking to buy a home for the first time, although people do try that. Buying at the foreclosure auction comes with considerable risk, but with higher risk comes more considerable reward. In Tampa Bay right now, a lot of investors getting some good deals at the foreclosure auctions. And, as an agent for banks, that means they don't get to me. The foreclosure process includes the final judgment, and then after that, it goes to an auction. And if nobody in the public picks it up at a price, that the bank, agrees to or doesn't outbid, then the property rolls back over to the bank or the foreclosing entity in that situation. In years past, in Hillsborough County, again, Tampa Bay, my home base. The auctions were done traditionally at the courthouse. People would gather, and up until 2012, I believe it was, that's how they were conducted. Since 2012, they are now online, and of course has created a more formidable market or bidding market for the local real estate investors now, because somebody in California can easily jump online and bid in our market. Before, you had to have a representative in the room making the bids, and the community of investors usually were the same. You'd see the same people there, and I've visited the foreclosure auction, a number of times, and you see the same people there. That's what they do. They go down there and they invest in real estate. In 2012, though, they opened that up to online, and now you can be in China, you can be in California, you can be anywhere in the world and place bids. Other markets still have them, at the actual courthouse steps, or sometimes they're done at the property, depending on where you're at. More and more people, though, of course, with anything, is moving to an online environment, and so that is the situation, in Hillsborough County. So a lot of good deals to be had right now on the foreclosure auctions, and another reason, contributing to the low inventory. Those distressed properties are not coming through the pipeline, but that's just a small component of the reason why we have a low inventory. The economy's improving, and less homes are even going to foreclosure to begin with. So let's talk about some of the risks and what you can do to mitigate some of those risks when you buy a home at the foreclosure auction. And so one of the key things is getting access to the information. And you'll see a lot of sites out there that are going to sell you the information. Sign up for our service and we'll get you the information. All this stuff is public record, and so if you take the time to just do some Google searches, and especially if you're only operating in your home county, which 9 times out of 10 probably is the typical investor, you can find this information online, and it's usually released in newspapers, on the online sites, what's coming up. And so I don't really see a value in subscribing to these services for what's coming up at the foreclosure auction. Maybe they have some other services that is of value, but just the actual knowledge of what's coming up in the foreclosure auction, which homes are coming up, you can find that as a matter of public record. And so don't subscribe to the services just for that. If there's other reasons you like them, so be it. A couple books you can look up for more information on this too. Foreclosure Investing for Dummies, also Keys to Buying Foreclosed and Bargain Homes. So those are a couple of books up there that are specifically written for this topic. And so information readily available in your local newspaper or local website on the homes that are coming up at the foreclosure auction. You're not going to be able to get interior access to the homes unless they are unsecured and you go buy the properties. And so when you're placing the bids on the properties, you don't really know what you're getting. You can drive by and see the home, see what it looked like. Maybe if there's some old photos on Zillow, you can see what the interior may have used to look like. But with foreclosed properties, and I've sold 1,500 of them, the interiors are usually strewn with debris. They are in disrepair, damages, deferred maintenance items. So expect the home to require a considerable amount of repairs. A rule of thumb, 70% of fair market value is probably on the very high side of what you'd want to maybe even consider offering. A lot of the investors that are offering 30-40 cents on the dollar for homes in our market. A large reason why a lot of them go back to the bank, because the bank will bid up until what they consider the fair market value of the home. If somebody at the auction bids over what the bank considers the fair market value of the home to be, then they're going to accept that bid, or the county will accept that bid, and the proceeds of the sale will then go to the bank. Otherwise, they would just as soon take it back and put it for sale through a realtor, and that is all based on broker price opinions, aka BPOs, and that's just a little bit about how the auctions work. The general public shows up, somebody from the bank or the plaintiff's party shows up, an attorney to bid on their behalf. They're instructed to bid up to a certain number. That certain number is the BPO value or a percentage of the BPO value, whatever their formula is. and then if somebody outbids them at the market or the foreclosure auction, it then goes to them. It's a common misconception. I'll have somebody say, "Oh, the bank paid, $50,000, to get this at the auction." They didn't pay $50,000. Why would they pay again? They're already out the mortgage. Why are they going to pay again? Why are they going to foreclose and pay again? That doesn't make sense. What that means is somebody at the auction bid them up to $50,000, and so that they kept, the bidding up and bid over $50,000. That way they could take it back, put it on the market, and then say the home was worth really $100,000. Obviously, they're not going to take a $50,000 bid if they could sell it for $100,000 on the marketplace. Some of the investors will tell you they like to mess with some of the banks and bid up some of these properties because they still have to pay a state tax, the dock stamps on the deed. That's required on all real estate transactions. It's 70 cents per $100. So take the acquisition price divided by 100 times 0.70. That tax is required on all sales, or on all transfers, I should say. And so the banks have to pay that fee. If nobody bids, that's when you see the $100 recorded in public records. That's the property transferred from mortgagor over to the bank via certificate of title for $100, and then they pay 70 cents. But if somebody wants to mess with the bank, or somebody honestly is trying to bid to get the property, then that's going to drive up their state tax that they're going to pay. So inside of the property, you're not going to know the condition of the property. Drive by the properties. A lot of times these homes are unsecured. I'm not saying break into the homes, but they do. People, walk into them. They go through a window and whatnot. And that's if they're vacated. They're not always vacated either. Just because the property is foreclosed or going to the foreclosure auction doesn't mean that the person that's living there is gone. And so what if you take title to the property and the former owner is still living in there? What do? Well, you got to evict them. You can't just go tell them I'm the owner of the home now. It's also commonplace to offer some type of relocation assistance. That's what the banks do. You as an investor can do the exact same thing. You can offer them money to move out, require that they leave the property in debris-free condition and cause no further damages to the property. And then you give them money to, basically, put it for a deposit on a new place and get started over. So it's a win-win. They clean up the property, leave it debris-free, don't cause any damages, and that way you get to get the home without any mess that you got to clean up and hire somebody to clean out as well. So go to the properties, check out the properties the best you can, walk around them, look into them, but assume that they are in pretty rough shape, and at the most 70 cents on the dollar, and that's actually pretty high. But that's going to depend on what market you're in and your own appetite for risk and versus your own rate of return that you're looking to get. Like I said, here in Tampa, 30, 40 cents on the dollar is what they're offering at the auction, and maybe a little bit higher now because it's getting more competitive. I don't know. I haven't been there for a while. So figuring out the fair market value of the property. Get yourself a good real estate agent to do a BPO on the property, a broker price opinion. A lot of experienced investors get to the point to where they can do their own evaluations on their home to what they're comfortable with. A lot of investors still utilize real estate agents. They acquire the property, they turn it over to the professional to sell it. Nothing wrong with that. That model works very well for a lot of top real estate investors. The big thing you need to be worried about, though, is the title of the property. You're not getting clear title of the property. Foreclosure wipes out a number of liens, but in Florida, for instance, an HOA lien is a superior or a super lien, which means it survives the foreclosure. And so you could be purchasing a property with a $20,000 lien against the property, and it's fully enforceable, and you're going to have to pay that to clear the title. But there's a number of things that can be wrong with the title of the property from a legal standpoint, and so the foreclosure auction does not give you any type of title insurance, does not guarantee you any clear access or rights to the property. All it does is give you a certificate of title to the property and as owner, and then you deal with all encumbrances against the property after that. Foreclosure wipes out a number of liens and things like that, but in some states HO liens are wiped out. In Florida, they are not, and it's a big sticking point for especially condominiums, which can incur pretty hefty fees pretty quickly at $300-400 a month, which is average for condominiums here in Florida. So how do you protect yourself against title insurance, title defects. You can have a title company run a lien search on the property. That'll cost you $100, $150. You can also a lot of people, I won't say a lot, but there are people that will work specifically at the courthouse. They're called title abstractors. You can hire them, and they will give you an abstract of title and tell you, basically, this is what I see. It's not a guarantee. It's not insurance until you actually go to a title insurance company and pay for the title insurance policy, and they do a full underwriting and search on the property. But that it is something to kind of give you an idea. Okay, all right, this property doesn't have an HOA lien, it doesn't have an IRS lien, things of that nature. And in some markets, those different liens are wiped out. The ability to pay for these properties, they are strictly a cash sale. In Hillsborough, you're required to put down a 5% deposit on the sale, and I believe that's required even before you bid. I'm not positive on that. I don't actually bid at the foreclosure auctions, but payment in full is required by noon the following business day. And so you're not going to get a mortgage on any of these properties, so you either need to have cash readily accessible and available in a checking or savings account, or you need to have a money man on site, or not on site, but just in your network to be able to wire the funds over, or bring them in the form of a cashier's check or whatever it is that the courthouse requires. So have that cash available. Make sure that you have the funds available, or else it's going to go back on the auction block and you're going to use it. You're not going to get a mortgage on the property. Also, if you're a homeowner looking to purchase a home that is going to foreclosure, you can intercept it before it goes to the foreclosure process. Contact the sellers, try to work a short sale, try to negotiate with their lender to even avoid going through the foreclosure process. And that's specific to like somebody who's looking for a specific home in a neighborhood. They want to be in that area for whatever reason, and they know that that particular home is distressed. So the bottom line, buying at auctions, a great opportunity to make some good reward. Also a great opportunity, or not great, but also an opportunity to lose money as well, and something that you need to probably take advantage of the mentor-protege relationship. Work with somebody who is experienced. Work out some type of deal where they teach you in exchange for you to work with them for whatever in whatever capacity. But learn the business. That's how most real estate investors come up through the business. Not oftentimes do you see them just start investing in homes at the real estate auction. But beware, do your title searches, go by the property, and make sure that you protect yourself. So again, if I can help you in any way buying or selling a home, please visit thathomevaluation.com. And for my full real estate profile, go to jamiemaloney.com. New episodes of the Real Estate Edition every Thursday now at 9 a.m. on thatbusinessnetwork.com, on demand on iTunes and on YouTube. You've been listening to That Business Show 2.0, the Real Estate Edition, where real estate becomes show business.